Have you ever had one of those moments when you knew exactly what you needed to do, yet you still stood there doing nothing, waiting for the perfect timing that never arrived? While you waited, the opportunity passed. That relationship slowly fell apart. That project stayed untouched until it died where it was left. Yes, I've heard many stories like this. Someone had what seemed to be the chance of a lifetime, but fear froze them, or insecurity held them back. The feeling that they were not ready, or the desire to calculate every detail, every possibility, and every variable before making a move. Because of that, the opportunity was lost. And then the regret came. Then came that familiar sentence people use to comfort themselves. If it didn't work out, it's because it wasn't meant to be. The universe wanted it that way. God wanted it that way. That sentence can work like medicine for your conscience. It may numb the pain for a little while. It may even help you sleep for a night. But it will never free you from the consequences that your lack of action creates over a lifetime. So calm down, but listen carefully. Not everything is lost. If you feel like you've been postponing important decisions, or that your lack of action has stopped you from becoming the best version of yourself, stopped you from reaching where you dream of going, stopped you from becoming truly powerful, then this video can help you. There is a Japanese book written over 400 years ago that says, "If you do not master the fire within you, the world will extinguish your flame." What if I told you that the difference between those who move forward and those who fall behind is not talent, not luck, not connections? What if it comes down to only one thing, knowing when to attack? Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to show you how to turn hesitation into action, chaos into strategy, and fear into movement. And by the end, you'll understand why the right intensity at the right time may be one of the most neglected skills of the 21st century. But before we get into it, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment on which lesson speaks to you the most. Now back to the video. In the 17th century, a samurai named Miyamoto Musashi found himself facing impossible situations again and again. At the age of 13, he killed his first opponent. By 30, he had won more than 60 duels. But it wasn't his sword that made him so difficult to defeat. It was his mind. Musashi wrote a guide that became legendary, the Book of Five Rings, and there is one section of that book that has fascinated readers all over the world, the Book of Fire. Today's video is based on that chapter. But here's the twist. This book is not really about sword fighting. It is about fighting life itself. Every strategy Musashi describes can be applied to your everyday battles. The difficult conversation you've been delaying for months, the project that keeps returning to your mind, the decision you know you need to make but keep avoiding, the toxic pattern you continue to tolerate because part of you hopes it might somehow improve on its own. Here's what makes the Book of Fire so powerful. First, fire is not about violence. It is about perfectly timed decision-making. Second, Musashi showed that constant pressure is often more ethical than delayed confrontation because it prevents the long war that ends up destroying everything. Third, he understood that most battles are won before they begin, during preparation, positioning, and control of the ground. In this video, I want to translate these centuries-old strategies into practical tools you can use in your conflicts today. No empty philosophy, no romantic fantasy, just clear technique. And when we are done, one question will remain. What if your greatest enemy is not the outside world, but your own hesitation? Before we go into the strategies, I need to tell you something personal. I used to be very good at avoiding conflict. You know that message that feels hard to answer? I would leave it there for days. Awkward conversations. I'll deal with it later. Important decisions. I need more time to think. The result was always the same. Small conflicts turned into crises. Opportunities slipped away. Relationships weakened in silence. That was when I came across the Book of Fire. And one sentence hit me like a punch. To decide is also to protect. That line changed the way I saw delay. I realized that every time I postponed a difficult decision, I wasn't protecting anyone. I was not being wise, patient, or kind. I was creating more suffering, my own and other people's. And if you're still watching, you probably recognize that pattern too. So let's deal with it. Strategy 1. The principle of impact. Decision before emotion. Fire does not argue with oxygen, it simply burns. The lesson in the Book of Fire is clear. When confrontation is unavoidable, hesitation becomes cruelty. Let me ask you a question that could change the way you act from today on. What is worse, acting now with 80% certainty or waiting forever for 100% certainty that never comes? Musashi discovered something most people spend their whole lives resisting. The perfect moment does not exist. There is only the sufficient moment, and people who wait for perfect timing are defeated by those who move when the moment is good enough. Take a pen and paper right now, seriously. Write down one problem that has been sitting in your life for at least 2 weeks. It can be personal, professional, financial, or physical. It doesn't matter. Now, write down 3 possible actions that could resolve it. Cross out the one that feels most insecure. Cross out the one that feels most comfortable. Keep the third one. Keep the one that makes your stomach tighten a little. The one that makes you nervous, but deep down, you know it would work. That third action is the one you do today. Not tomorrow, not after another week of thinking. Today. Why today? Because Musashi teaches that a warrior does not wait to become ready. A warrior becomes ready by acting. To decide is also to protect. Strategy 2. Dominate the terrain. Win before you begin. Here is a secret very few people understand. Musashi won many of his duels before he ever drew his sword. How? By controlling the terrain. In physical combat, terrain is the location. In modern life, terrain is context. Who starts the conversation? Who chooses the time? Who decides whether the exchange happens by email, phone, or face-to-face? Who sets the agenda? Let me give you a practical example. Imagine you want to ask for a raise. You have 2 options. Bad terrain. You send a long message on Friday at 5 p.m. explaining why you deserve more money. Good terrain. You schedule a 15-minute conversation on Tuesday morning. Bring clear results and specific evidence and ask one focused question. Based on these results, what would be the next step for growing my role here? Same issue, same goal, completely different ground, and the chances of success are dramatically different. The same rule applies in relationships. Instead of starting a difficult conversation late at night when both people are tired, meet in the morning in a neutral place. In negotiations, instead of accepting the first schedule the client suggests, offer two options that work better for you. In family conflict, instead of arguing through WhatsApp, where every sentence becomes a misunderstanding, make a call and solve it in 5 minutes. The principle is simple. Whoever defines the environment shapes half the outcome. That is emotional mathematics. So here's the exercise. Think about one situation in your life that feels stuck. On whose terrain is that problem happening? Does the current context strengthen you or drain you? What small change in timing, format, or setting would increase your advantage? Terrain is an invisible argument. Strategy 3. Rhythm and timing. The choreography of pressure. Musashi was obsessed with attacking when his opponent inhaled. Why? Because when someone inhales, the mind pauses for a fraction of a second. Translated into everyday life, timing is not about rushing. It is about intelligent rhythm. There are rhythms that change outcomes. One of them is broken rhythm, short, focused sequences that create strategic discomfort. For example, in a negotiation, you might ask, what is the biggest challenge in this project? If that isn't solved in the next 30 days, what happens? What is stopping you from solving it today? Then you present your proposal. Why does that work? Because you don't give the other person enough time to build a full defensive wall. You move directly to the point of tension. In personal conflicts, this matters too. Instead of letting an argument drag on for hours, give it rhythm. 2 minutes for each person to speak without interruption. 1 minute for each to summarize what they understood from the other. Then a decision about the next step. Today, not someday. Here is the golden rule of pacing. If you want a decision, stop measuring approval after every sentence. Your rhythm must match your goal. If your goal is resolution, your pace must move toward clarity. If your goal is approval, your pace will slow down into hesitation. You cannot fully optimize for both. Timing is the grammar of victory. Strategy 4. Constant pressure. Firmness without cruelty. This is important. Pressure does not mean crushing. It means not allowing the problem to heal in the wrong shape. You know what often happens after a conflict? People talk, feel temporary relief, and walk away thinking it's done. Then, 2 weeks later, the exact same issue comes back. Why? Because the problem was paused, not resolved. It was left alone long enough to return. Here's how to apply pressure without becoming a dictator. First, put agreements into writing. In the heat of the conversation, once you reach a decision, write it down in front of the other person. So we agree that you'll do X by Friday and I'll do Y by Tuesday. Correct? Second, define the next checkpoint before anxiety fills the silence. After this, let's come back in 24 hours with either X or Y clearly decided. Third, use light but frequent follow-up. A short message checking in is more powerful than disappearing with good intentions. Instead of saying, "Let me know when you figure it out," say, "I'll check back tomorrow afternoon and see how it's going." The deeper rule is this: pressure with clarity is care. Pressure without clarity is oppression. Musashi taught that an enemy should not have time to recover between attacks. In real life, that means a problem should not have enough empty space to create new excuses between conversations. Constancy is controlled fire. Strategy 5. Productive deception. Use surprise without betraying trust. Musashi also talked about using distraction to throw an opponent off balance. Before you dismiss that as manipulation, understand the ethical version of this idea. Surprise the problem where it feels safest. In personal conflict, instead of trading accusations on WhatsApp, send this: "Hey, I'm coming by tonight for coffee. Let's solve this face-to-face in 20 minutes like adults." That changes everything. The other person has no pre-written script for that. In a stalled project, instead of holding one more meeting to align expectations, show up with a rough prototype you built in 48 hours. "I made this quickly. It's not pretty, but it shows the direction. What do you think?" People commit more easily to something concrete than to something polished in theory. In heated discussions, when things start turning into a fight, stop and say, "You're right about this part." Give up something small and true. Then say, "Now, help me understand this piece, because I think that's where the real issue is." That lowers the other person's defenses and creates room for the central argument. The universal formula is this: one honest surprise can be stronger than 5 correct arguments. Why? Because people usually already know the argument you are about to make. They have already prepared their response. Surprise forces the mind to process something new. Break expectation, not trust. Strategy 6. Hit what no one sees. The real problem whispers. Musashi understood that the real issue is rarely the one making the most noise. The true problem is often quiet. In a stuck team, the issue may not be lack of talent. It may be lack of clear priorities. In procrastination, the issue may not be lack of time. It may be fear of beginning badly. In a tense relationship, the issue may not be lack of love. It may be lack of clear rules. Try this. Write down the 3 obvious causes of your problem. Then remove 2 of them. Keep the silent one. The cause that does not shout but quietly controls everything. Focus on that one for 7 days. Conquer the nerve, not the muscle. Strategy 7. Lucid intensity. Fire without smoke. Before any confrontation, use a 3-minute ritual. Breathe in for 4 seconds. Hold for 2. Breathe out for 6. Repeat 5 times. Then write your purpose in 10 words or fewer. If you need more words, your objective is still unclear. Then define one micro-action: an email, a call, a draft, a meeting request. Without clarity, fire becomes smoke. Strategy 8. The final strike. Finishing is an art. Ending well is a skill. Use this closing checklist. Has the goal been confirmed by both sides? Is there a clear next step? Is there a date? Is there a responsible person? Has the agreement been recorded simply? If yes, finish. If not, you are still fighting air. Ending is an act of care for the future. And this is not just philosophy, it is applied behavior. Quick decisions in complex situations are not always impulsive. Often they reflect trained pattern recognition. Predictable pressure reduces uncertainty. Control over context changes outcomes. Ethical surprise shifts people from defense into attention. Musashi understood this centuries ago. But there is one more idea that may change the way you hear all of this. In the Book of Fire, there is something almost no one mentions. Fire also illuminates. It does not only destroy, it reveals. What if this entire strategy of confrontation and decision is not mainly about defeating others, but about finally seeing what you have avoided seeing? The pattern that has been draining your energy for years. The conversation you avoid because you fear the answer. The project you delay because fantasy feels safer than testing reality. The decision you already know you need to make but keep surrounding with excuses. Do you know when a battle becomes most dangerous? Right after you almost win. That is when people relax. That is when they lose momentum. That is when victory slips through their fingers. So here is a 60-second ritual to stop that from happening. First, take 3 deep breaths and ask yourself, what is the real goal here? Second, write the next step in a few words. If it becomes long and vague, you still don't know what you want. Third, confirm it in one sentence with the other person. So, we are moving from X to Y, correct? Fourth, record it somewhere you will actually see again. A notebook, an app, your calendar, anything real. Fifth, take the first micro action immediately before the energy fades. Send the email, schedule the meeting, write the draft. Why immediately? Because motion creates motion. Inertia creates inertia. And now the question I want to leave you with. What battle do you need to end today in order to free your energy for tomorrow? Write it down now. Apply the ritual now if you need to. The Book of Fire is not a call to violence. It is a call to active lucidity, decision before emotion, ground before argument, rhythm before force, pressure with respect, surprise with ethics, and closure with care. And remember the line from the beginning. If you do not master the fire within you, the world will extinguish your flame. If this changed your perspective in any way, leave a comment and tell me which battle you are going to end today. And if there is someone in your life who needs to hear this, someone who keeps thinking about decisions without making them, send this video to them.